What's up, Internet? You're tuned into a very special episode of Nintendo Noise. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined today by my very good friend and co-host, Mr. CHUY Plays.
Goodbye.
Hello, my friend. Welcome back. We've got a fun one today. You're literally a day removed from the Nintendo Switch 2 preview event. You are in LA right now at your in-laws' place, recording on a iPhone mic on your headphones.
Yep.
We're lo-fi today.
My laptop, that webcam, my little headphones. That's it. No, nothing special today.
But we got some photos, we got some video we'll be showing over on YouTube if you guys want to bounce over. This is not an episode you can enjoy audio only, but definitely will be one worth checking out the visuals, I would say.
There's some supplemental materials for you all.
yeah, and I can throw some links in the description down below as well if you want to watch along at home if you're an audio listener. But yeah, I mean, every single one of us applied to go to these events. You were the only one lucky enough to get through. I am so excited to hear about your day.
Too. Like, it wasn't even on my main account because I applied with like a couple friends in the area who are on my family plan. That one didn't happen, and I just happened to be like, you know what? I'll throw my second account in there. Maybe that'll just be like a backup one. Lo and behold, that's the only one that gets it.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So,
honestly, I'm glad that you waited to admit that until afterwards. I'm wondering, there probably was a rule against that.
You think there was?
I wonder.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's a legitimate account and it pays them money.
That's true. It's not like
another family plan on there.
Yeah, it's not like you like. I think you're right. I think they would have to let you get away with it because it's not like you have a bunch of like dummy accounts. It's a second account. You've spent more time than most people have spent on a regular account.
Yes,
because you're
more
a real
time
one.
And more money. I literally pay for 2 family plans here. Which
you're the ideal
consumer. If anybody wants to join, $10 for a year, and
honestly,
you get the expansion pack. It's a good deal.
You know what, Sarah and I will take you up on that when Switch 2 rolls around. I got to get back on a family plan. I haven't been paying for one, and I want those GameCube games.
Yeah. Oh man, the GameCube games. We'll get to it.
Yeah. So I tried to not pick your brain too much because I wanted to just talk to you about it on the air. So I don't really have a run of show in mind. I'm happy for you to steer the ship. If you want to like take us through the day chronologically, if you want to start with the stuff that you think is the most interesting, that's great. Yeah. I have some questions from some of the other co-hosts that were interested to see. You asked everybody like, hey, I'm going. What do you guys want to know?
Yeah, just let me know. I think the easiest way is like I'll take you through chronologically because like the one thing about this event, and I guess I never been to anything like this. Obviously, like a ton of people have never been to anything like this. I don't think outside of like Nintendo showing up at like E3s or like PAX, there's not a lot of opportunities to try like the latest and greatest things. I only got like a couple actually, because Nintendo does like show up at San Diego Comic-Con. I think it's at the Marriott next door. There's a Hilton on one side, the Marriott on the other, and they'll usually do like a little setup. So I've been to like that kind of thing where it's just kind of like a showroom of games that they have. And honestly, I went during like the Wii U era, so it wasn't like there was anything like really spectacular to look at. So this was way more interesting. But yeah, basically got in, second account. You show up and there's basically 2 lines. One is just like a check-in line where they scan your little QR code that they send, and then they give you a badge. So this is like an attendee badge. And then they have the gameplay passport. Sorry, everything's reversed. It's my webcam.
Don't worry, I flipped it, so it's all they're getting it straight on. You're good.
Amazing. That's great. So yeah, this was basically you wore it around. They made sure you were part of this whole thing. And then the gameplay passport on the back, it's just kind of like it has 6 slots. Because you were kind of limited to how many games you can experience
to keep you from getting in line for a game a second time.
Yeah. So they had more than 6 games, but you're allowed to try 6. But then there were also like some free to try games, and those were Mario Kart, obviously, and then Donkey Kong you could try and it wouldn't count toward your slots, and then also the Nintendo Switch 2 welcome tour.
Oh, great.
um, yeah, wonderful. Um, so yeah, let me back up. So the whole thing, it's pretty cool because they like organize it for like a specific everything's very specific. I'm pretty sure that I didn't count everybody by head, but like I think they let in like 48 people at a time, and I think that number lines up with just like having two groups of people playing Mario Kart at the same time,
Yeah, right.
because they
Because
are
it's
like
up to
24
24
people
racers.
races. Yeah, and I was like, there's definitely more than 24 people here. At first my guess was like 50, and then when I thought about it a little more, I was like, it's probably 48, just to like align with that. Because so basically you walk in, and the first section is just like literally the Switch 2 console. They had like six of them, I want to say, five or six. I think there was one area that only had like one, so probably like six. And so you'd stand in line for your chance to like pick it up, hold it, detach the Joy Cons, reattach them, look at them, mess with the little the kickstand, right? And I mean, it feels so. Both of us, we have this the Steam Deck and the regular Switch. It feels like a like really in between those two
In
as
terms
far
of
as
like
size goes.
size.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it doesn't feel as like bulky and big as the Steam Deck does, you know. Because I was kind of wondering that, because I was like, it seems like the sizes are pretty similar, but the bulk, like just how thin it is, it definitely like lessens the bulky feel of it, right? um and it feels honestly, for my hands, like I got big hands, it feels so much more comfortable than the Switch. Like I was totally fine playing the Switch because I've always done like handheld gaming stuff, and those things are always tiny. Um but yeah, it just felt like the perfect size upgrade. It felt like what size the Switch should have been this whole time, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing that surprised me, because I think like a lot of people talk about like the Joy-Con stuff and everything, but the surprise was really just like how sturdy the kickstand felt. I had to like
Interesting. Okay.
actually give it like a real tug to get it to like pull out and everything. So I'm like, oh, this thing's like, it's hefty, it's strong, it's stuck in there. It feels like it's going to stay in place, like and not get knocked over.
So let's. I want to dig in on something you said right there. One of the questions that the crew had was Sierra was in all caps. How do the joysticks feel? That's what I want to know.
The joysticks, I can tell they're different.
Okay.
Like immediately I was like, oh, these are different joysticks. Like, because
How
we all
different
know
are we
like the
talking?
it felt more like I the PlayStation joysticks to me. Um, More like I guess I could grab a PS5 right now, a controller, and compare because my brother-in-law has one. But it felt more like that, a little bit more like tension to them, I would say, when you
Okay.
like move it around. And honestly, I liked it a lot, and it didn't feel like it would start to drift immediately after playing for a long time. Because you know, a lot of people are caught up on the Joy-Con drift and stuff, but I would say I have run a couple pro controllers into the ground from all my Splatoon playing. Like I was getting the
Sure.
same drift from pro controllers too. So
Yeah, I've
um,
had it happen on other like I have an Xbox controller that drifts, and it
mhm.
happens.
Yeah, yeah. But that said, I think it felt better. It felt they're definitely bigger in size and everything. And I guess the way I would compare it is like I remember when early on in the Switch life they did the test fire for Splatoon 2 when that was like a month before it was coming out, you know? And
Hmm.
I remember at that point I didn't have a pro controller. I was playing with the Joy-Con grip, and I was like, immediately I was like, no, I need to get my hands on a pro controller before this game officially comes out, because this is not the way to play it. That is not the impression I got with the Joy-Con with the
Cool.
new size and everything.
Because
All
yeah,
of it
I
just
feel
felt
like
better.
the original Joy Cons, like they have like a sponginess quality to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I want that kind of like clicky.
Hmm.
Especially for something like like you said, like a competitive multiplayer shooter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. And then the button clicks, they still, I still say they would lean more on the kind of like spongier side than like a clickier side.
Okay.
More clicky, but still spongy. Um, So yeah, Joy-Con, you got to hold them. The detaching them super easy. It's literally just like the video. Like you click the back of it, and a little nubbin pops out. It's fun to kind of click it and just see that nub come in and out. But then it just like detaches. Um, and I would say the click of the magnets and the Joy-Con actually connecting more satisfying than like the slide rail Joy-Con click.
Okay.
I think it's better. um,
I love that.
and
How does
yeah,
that feel? Do you like feel like the magnet? Does it like pull it in when it gets close, or is it like kind of just a seamless like?
it doesn't feel like it pulls it in immediately, but like definitely when you get it into that right slot, it just like it clicks in.
You can literally see. I'm showing the video that you gave me in the Discord of the like you can see it like kind of click in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. Like I get pretty close to it, and it's like it still waits a little while before it finally just like clicks in, you know. Um, And then I'm trying to think if anything else stood out to me. Yeah, I held it up kind of just to my face for like size comparisons. So people, I'll take out my Switch that's right next to me right now. This is me with my regular Switch. There's a picture somewhere
I've got the
that I
picture
sent
in
you.
picture.
Nice, nice. Picture in picture, regular Switch, Switch 2. Maybe I'm holding it closer. I don't know, but there you go. Yeah, so held it up, compared the size and everything. Really, just yeah. I think the most surprising thing to me was just like, oh, this is a real kickstand. Like it feels like something people would actually use. Don't know if people still will. You know, is the thing. But they made it better for sure
Yeah.
for anybody who does want to. But then, so outside of the Switch, they also had the boxes that they're going to come in. So I saw both the Mario Kart box and just like the regular one. I think I probably sent you just like the Mario Kart box. But that the boxes are small. Like they're smaller than the new like redesigned Switch box. I was actually pretty surprised. Like it looks really cute. It gave me like some GameCube vibes by the size of it. If you recall the GameCube
Yeah.
box, it was more along those lines. A little bit thinner than the GameCube because obviously it's not as like thick as that. But yeah, it had that similar size. They had a display case with basically everything that's in it that comes with it. And I'd say it's the same stuff as the Switch. You know, they include a charger, they include the Joy-Con, like, little wristband strap
Yeah, the like
things.
connector that turns it into a single controller.
Yeah, yeah, the Joy-Con grip, the wrist straps, it's all there. So they've included everything. HDMI cable is in there still too. I had one friend specifically like comment to me that she's like kind of annoyed that a lot of electronic devices have stopped packing in HDMI cables. Not because she doesn't have a bunch of them already, but mostly because she's like, I don't want to share cables anymore. I'm
Yeah.
like unplugging and replugging things in. Um, so they also had another display case that had all the accessories. They had the GameCube controller in there, the Pro controller, they had the charging grip. The camera was there. I was actually really surprised at like how small the camera was. It
It
felt
is
like
very little.
yeah, it was pretty tiny, close to everything. I'd say like it was like maybe one and a half of my phone's tall, and yeah, it was pretty tiny.
Talk to me about these wheels.
Oh yeah, they had mentioned nothing about the
Yeah.
wheels, but like I guess they're keeping them alive for Mario Kart.
They love not communicating anything, huh?
Yeah, they said literally nothing about the wheels, but apparently they're a thing. Yeah, there's wheels, and I'm assuming it's just like Mario Kart, keeping the gyro
Yeah.
alive, you know,
Yeah.
from the Wii days. Um,
Fair enough.
and then the last display case there was basically the Switch in all the modes that it could play. Tabletop, um, it had handheld, and then it had just like the docked
Sure.
mode with the grip, right? Um, so yeah, they spent 20 minutes with us in that room. Basically, they just let us like hold the Switch as much as we wanted, take pictures, anything we wanted to do with it, except for like steal it, you know. And then from there, they kind of like led us into the next room, which was Mario Kart. time with Mario Kart.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that was really cool. So the first setup was just like they had us race on TV mode, and that was a Joy-Con grip controller for that one. They basically wanted us to experience Mario Kart in every form of the way. And this one was just like a single race. We raced one on the TV with the Joy-Con, and then we could race on handheld mode. So we got to try the
That's
Switch
cool.
like in handheld mode. And at that point, that's where I noticed like just how sturdy it feels in handheld mode. Because like you hold like your Switch in handheld mode, the Joy Cons after a while they get like a little loose. There's a little wiggle to them. Maybe that'll happen later on, but I kind of don't think it will, just based on like
The magnet,
the magnets.
yeah,
And
seems like that'll kind of be future proof.
yeah, I think that one will keep it like feeling like one sturdy thing. It really gave me like, like you hold like a Game Boy Advance or something that's just like one single piece. Like it
Yeah,
feels like one single piece as you play in handheld mode.
that's cool. I like
Um,
that. So,
yeah, which is nice because like my Joy-Con right now, like on my Animal Crossing one, the left one, like I can push it off like almost
mm,
with nothing, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of annoying. So I have to like be very careful when I play
yeah,
handheld.
I've seen that on like it it's a friend's nephew, right? Who I like
Hmm.
I'm familiar with, right? And like I've seen that on his one Switch, right? Because it's like obviously it's a kid Switch. It's very beloved, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's got that where it's like, oh yeah, if I like push this,
Hmm.
I could pull him right off, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that becomes a worry later if both of yours are doing that. Like say you're
You're
holding
holding it
your
and it just
Switch
slides
and it's
out.
just like that's your Switch right there. That's the
Yeah,
machine.
yeah,
It's
for
gone.
sure.
Um
So real
yeah.
quick, talk to me about the performance difference with Mario Kart between those two, because
Oh
obviously
man.
we saw them break down how like a game like Metroid Prime, right, for example, is going to be able to achieve upwards of 120 FPS when it's in the
Yeah.
dock, but then in handheld mode you have that that more dialed back kind of situation. Did you notice that kind of situation with Mario Kart? Was it like, oh, the docked experience is well above what we've come to expect on Switch, and then the
Hmm.
handheld experience was maybe a little more familiar? Like, I'm just interested in kind of like what your gut reaction was to seeing it back to back in those two different form factors.
Yeah, yeah. So for this, we're at the same station. The TV is connected, so you can play on the TV. But then there's also right in front of it the Switch itself, the Switch 2, so you can like hold it and play it. Honestly, like it didn't feel different. Like I could tell everything ran really well. It didn't seem like it dipped at all when you went to handheld mode, because obviously it's going to have like a little bit more power when docked and everything. But honestly, it just like I couldn't tell a difference, and everything was like buttery smooth. Like immediately, I was like, this runs better than the Switch. Like I
Nice.
play the Switch a lot still. I still spend a lot of time there, and there's definitely things where I'm like, it's I'm noticing lag, I'm noticing frame dips and that sort of thing. But with this, I was just like nothing, so
Cool.
seamless. And then I played as the cow, of course.
Yeah, I saw that in your footage.
It's the new meta. Gotta play as the cow. I won. I think I won all my races. Maybe I was third in one because I did pick to play as Peach because she had like a real cute like racer outfit, and I was like, that's pretty cute. I gotta try this out. And I was sad the cow didn't have any like outfits unlocked. So played as a cow. The funniest thing though was when we were racing on the TV, because they have you like pair up with another person before that you go into these rooms. They're like, yeah, find a pair because everybody's going to be paired up. If you don't have a pair, came alone, raise your hand. And then like the person right next to me, who's also like behind me in line to get in, also rose their hand. I was like, oh, cool, want to pair up? And he was like, yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
So yeah, we were racing
Buds.
against each other. And then we were on the final turn and I red shelled him
Oh,
right at the
nice.
finish line and
Nice.
boosted. And he like kind of cheered because like for a moment he thought he won and then he looked and saw that he came in second place. And I was
No.
like, I'm so sorry, dude, but you're facing a champ here.
Yeah, you can't look. You got to make sure your arms are long enough to box with God if you're gonna take a swing.
Exactly. Um, so yeah, came in first in that one. That was pretty hyped. And then we played in handheld mode, and yeah, from there. So both of those races that we did, I think we did a third too, back on the TV. But all of those were just kind of like with me and that one other person. And then once we were done with those three races, they also only picked like one track for each of them. I on handheld mode actually we got different ones, and I got to play on the Donkey Kong track,
Oh,
the
cool.
the one where you're kind of climbing up the old school Donkey Kong game level.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the
They
barrels
taught
are
us
getting
some.
chucked at you and stuff.
Yeah, that one. Every time I was getting to a rail, thunderbolts. Like it would not let me grind, and I was like, "This is terrible."
That's so funny.
I
Oh,
feel like
also,
I'm bad at this game.
real quick, folks, I found Chewy's victory screen so you can see the receipts that he won, just in case
Yeah,
you were wondering.
and that's the future. That's the big victory screen.
Yeah, that's
You
the
are looking at one of the world's best Mario Kart world players right now.
currently ranked.
Yeah, currently first place. I've got a 0% lose rate. um, so yeah, there's some new moves with this Mario Kart.
Okay.
There's so much more to the physics now too. So the first new move, you've got the hop still, where you can drift and everything, but now you can do that on straightaways. If you hop and you hold it, it'll charge up another boost for you. Slash,
Oh,
it'll like launch
interesting.
you into the air, and you can launch yourself sideways and forward. And I didn't try a backflip. I should have tried that, but you could probably do a backflip, would be my guess. But basically, like you can go from the ground, get some air, and hop onto a rail. Is what's possible with that. And you get just like extra boosts. And I'm like, oh man, if there's just like a moment where you need to dodge like a banana going straight ahead, like you've got a move to do that.
I
So
remember
pretty cool.
during the treehouse, I saw people were trying to use that to like dodge blue shells and stuff, and it's like it's gonna be
Yeah,
very interesting if you can use it that way.
yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see. And then the other thing is like the water physics were really cool. So I noticed like when you would go into the water at like full speed, you could kind of like dunk into the water. But when you come out, you can hit your hop again and get a boost once you come out of
Okay.
it. So yeah. And then I feel like there was like a little bit of like a haptic feeling to that too, where you'd like kind of get a rumble that made you feel like, oh, you're getting pushed back by this water, as you dive in. And then once you hop out again, it kind of like releases that tension.
That's
And it
cool.
was really cool. Yeah. Um, so like that. So yeah, after those three races where we did a few tracks, we go into the knockout mode, which is like the 24 player mode. And you're trying to reach the checkpoint and not get knocked out. And that, I've got to say, incredibly fun.
That
I don't
sounds like
know.
such a good time. Like I would
Yeah,
love to do that. Like I
yes,
can see that being
we
such a
have
fun
to.
thing for like if you could do like a like a charity invitational or something like that, right? Like it's like, oh,
For
there's so many
sure.
like fun applications for that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. They kept that mode basically like pretty, user friendly. The rails are still on. They mentioned like the invisible rail, so you don't like go flying off the track, to keep it all pretty like close competition. Um, and then yeah, outside of that, like it's hectic all the way through, and they're like stressful moments. Like there were moments where I looked down at the corner and I was like, I am not in a position to make it to the next round. I don't know where the next checkpoint is. I have to fix this. And I think I barely made it at some point, like definitely into fourth. The final part of the race, I was in fourth place, and I was like, I barely scratched my way into
You
this
almost got
position.
D ranked.
Yeah, I know. Almost D ranked on day one. Um, Yeah, and then eventually I laid just like the nastiest bomb and took a lead that people could not catch me from. And I
Awesome.
was like, okay, I think I've got this. And then yes, got first place with the cow. And I was really surprised because like all the Nintendo staff was like watching me still because I was still playing. And then they just like cheered at the end. And I was like, oh man, I had a crowd going.
Like,
What's
damn,
going
this is
on?
a real pro video gamer right here.
Yeah, it was my pro video game moment right there. Um, so yeah, they all cheered for me, and I was just like, "Man, I won! This is awesome!" And they're like, "The cow won!" And they were so hyped for the cow. And then they're like, "Oh, let's take a picture of you." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I could take pictures. This is cool." So I took a picture of my windscreen. Got a picture with them. Probably should have done it again. I saw it after, and I was like, "Oh my!" I was doing like Mario fist into the air, but I was like
Nice.
mid Mario fist, so it's like all blurry. And I was like, I should have probably done another one for them, but it's fine. Because I think they're just like shuffling people to the next one. They're like, okay, this is over. The next group has to come in, and so the next room from here is basically the showroom with like everything else. They had Donkey Kong. They had also told us too. They're like Donkey Kong's like it doesn't count toward your 6 games. Make sure you go and play that. And
That's
yeah,
cool
they
that
had
like
a
the
ton of
two
stations for it.
most like I would say anticipated games didn't count towards your game count. That's nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's really nice. That and then the other game, Welcome Tour.
Yeah, which, I'm less excited about that one.
I'll give you my thoughts after. But Donkey Kong got to spend time with that.
Talk to
It
me about
feels
it.
good. Yeah, it feels good. It definitely feels like more along the lines of like Mario Odyssey movement, really like smooth, very smooth feeling Donkey Kong movement. And then just like how easily he just like climbs up onto surfaces and the smashing. It's like all very fast and
How's the
fluid.
destructibility feel? Is it like very like it does everything feel interactable?
Basically, yeah.
That's
Like
cool.
I was like, this is one of those games where it's just gonna suck you in and you're gonna try to destroy literally everything to leave no stone unturned, basically. Um, yeah, and they were just like giving us little tips. They would leave like basically little cards that were controller guides with it, just to give you a little look at like, oh, here are the moves that you have, since it's kind of like quick pick
And
up
it's like
and
I'm sure
play.
it's just throwing you in the middle of gameplay, right?
Yeah, it kind of it gives you the whole intro.
Oh,
Basically,
okay,
it's just like
cool.
the intro to the game. Yeah, so um, played through that. You do like kind of land into a section because the game kind of leads you directly into the next story part. So, but then once you land there, because it's the demo, it just kind of like boots you back into the beginning section. And they're like, yeah, it kind of takes you back, but there's like tons of stuff to discover in each world, kind of thing. So, explored that for a while, honestly, just like destroyed as much mountain as possible. I did want to see like what happened if you just like went all the way down. What would you
Yeah, like
meet?
I'm very interested in like what the limit of it is. Is it like an Animal Crossing thing where it's like there's like a bedrock point where it's just like okay, like
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like eventually, I just hit like here's rock that it's a different color. It's like all green and that sort of thing. But so you can tell you've hit like a different material, and then it's just like nope, can't go any further. That's it. And I was like, okay, so there's a limit. But it did take like a pretty long time to go and get to that limit. um, and I'm sure there'll be like more moves that you unlock over time too to like destroy things even faster.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I I'd say like my thoughts on Donkey Kong like have kind of gone up and dipped and gone up again. So like I thought the first trailer was awesome. After seeing the treehouse, I was like, I don't know, I don't know how long I'd be like interested in this gameplay. And then after playing it, I was like, it's pretty satisfying, like destroying
Cool.
everything. And I could see myself like kind of just like I don't know, putting on a podcast, dozing off, and just like auto destroying everything.
That was the thing I thought was interesting because like Steve said something similar when we talked about it recently, and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I looking at it, it gave me a Mario Odyssey vibe,
Hmm.
and hearing you say that, I'm like, okay, like I think I get it then. Like if it is just like a experiential like collectathon, like get in there and mix it up, enjoy the physics, like I don't know, like,
Mhm.
that sounds pretty appealing, you know?
Yeah, I think it'll have that. It did feel like very sandboxy Mario,
Yeah.
only you can destroy the sandbox. Yeah. From there, I kind of walked around a little bit just to like see the show floor and see everything they had. But I was kind of standing to try out Dragon Drive. But that one, it's kind of like a lengthy tutorial just to like get the movement. And so like
Yeah.
I was standing there for a little while, and then the people behind me, they're like, well, do you want to try Mario Party? And I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I'll try Mario Party. That one does count toward one of your games. So I was like, you know what? I get to try the mouse games, the camera function, right?
So, real quick, so how many games were there then? How many did you not get to play?
Um, let's see. The ones I didn't play, they had Street Fighter, they had Hogwarts Legacy, Civ 7, Yakuza 0. There was two games in like the mature section,
Yeah.
Cyberpunk and Yakuza. I went and tried Cyberpunk. Um, so Yakuza 0 was one that I didn't try. I didn't try Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, but they had
Okay,
that.
so wait, so because I have a lot of questions already based on what you've
Yeah,
already told me. What games did you play? So
the ones
we
I did play, I played mostly all the Nintendo stuff that had like new things. I played Mario Party that had the mouse controls plus the camera stuff. So I did that. I played Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. That
okay.
didn't count though. And then from there, I did Dragon Drive. I played Metroid Prime 4,
Okay.
and I played Hades 2, and was it
And
Cyberpunk that I
Cyberpunk. Okay.
mentioned? And
All
I feel
right.
like there's one more, but no,
Then
that must have been it.
then I have some I want to pull in some of our other co-hosts questions.
Awesome.
So Ken said, "I'm super curious about the mouse feature. Like I'm sure it'll work fine with a mouse pad at a desk, but that's rarely where I play my Switch. I guess I want to
Mhm.
know how well it works on different surfaces." And then I was like, "Yeah, like can you use it on fabrics? Like could you
Yes.
use it on like your pants or on a couch or something?" So it sounds
Mhm.
like you played what, three
Dragon
different
Drive.
that and
Yeah,
then
Dragon Drive.
did you
I
try it in
played.
Metroid at all?
I tried it in Metroid,
Okay.
and I tried it in Mario Party. So those
Okay.
were the three that I got. Oh, and I guess the Welcome Tour that also had like mouse mode
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, so
Um,
how was it?
Honestly, I think it works well. I don't think these are the most ergonomic mice, because that was the worry that had going into it. I was like, I sit at a computer all day. I know, the kind of stress that puts on your wrist and everything as you do. I don't think it's a comfortable way to play for a very long period of
Yeah,
time.
like how do you think playing a game like Civ 7 on that is going to be something that would be like tiresome?
Yeah, I imagine you're going to be able to like connect a mouse like you already can on the Switch. So it'd probably be like if you want to play games like that, it would probably benefit you to like get a mouse and control it with that. But that said, there were like different buttons that you would still utilize in Metroid Prime 4, for example. Like I was clicking some of the face buttons, like the A button and stuff, to
That's cool.
access different things while I was playing. And then both the triggers, you had your missiles and then just your gun, right?
I
So
really hope that we get like a Power A or like an 8-bit Do or something where it's like they make an actual ergonomic mouse that just has all the switch buttons on it.
yeah, I think they have to, honestly, because I was like, it works, but I don't see this being comfortable for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna mess up your wrist after a while. But that said, like the short bursts of it, I think it's pretty fun. Like all the short mini game things with Mario Party were super easy to like pick up and play and do really quickly. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a little bit. I don't think you're gonna mess up your wrist doing that because it's just like such a short little mini game. Um, and then the question I did have for them was, and I asked the person at the welcome tour booth, is if you could like adjust the sensitivity of the mouse.
That's a
For
good question.
Yeah, and for that game, they said they didn't know.
Mm.
They only really had access to like what was in the demo,
If I
and
had
as
to
far as like
guess,
what
I
they
would say
dug through,
no, right? Like it feels like Nintendo broadly is not the best at giving you those kinds of controls, but I guess we
yeah,
did kind of get a sense that maybe that would change this time around because like they're going to let you map the GameCube emulation controls, right? So like
yeah, sure.
maybe.
Yeah. So so the answer I got was just like they don't know. The demo, from what they had seen, didn't really give them an option, and
Yeah.
it was probably with that game in particular. I didn't ask at like Metroid, for example.
Mhm.
Um, Somebody did tell me that they saw gameplay of Metroid Prime 4 where somebody went into the menu and did adjust it,
Okay.
but I'll have to double check that
So
for you.
unconfirmed, but maybe.
Yeah, unconfirmed, maybe. But I do think it would benefit from obviously like being able to adjust like the sensitivity.
Totally.
And then Dragon Drive, I played, and honestly, I had a lot of fun playing
Really?
that
That game
game.
looks so
It it still
slow.
looks like pretty bland to me. Like that was my thing where I was like, there's not a lot of color. But being there, I was like, oh, I guess they do like have some things there, like you could change your wheels and stuff. The kind of like armor that you're
The little like
wearing.
hats and stuff.
Yeah, there was some variation to it, and I was like, okay, it has a little bit more character because I went in being like, this game needs a little something to make it flashier, you know? Like
Yeah.
Arms was the new motion control game for the Switch, and like nobody can deny like those characters have style, like they have
Arms,
some flair to them,
no one
you know?
appreciates arms as much as they should.
Yeah, and then my other worry with it was also like, are they just gonna stick a controller mode? I think they will, like just like a base controller mode for it, like where you don't have to do the motion controls and
Right.
stuff.
Which then it's like
Um,
how does that work then, right?
yeah, and at
Like
that point, it's like play Rocket League, you
right.
know, pretty similar concept. But that said, like I did have a lot of fun with it. I think
Okay.
it
I mean, I'm
looks
glad to
it
hear that.
I think it looks slower than it plays in person
Okay.
because there is kind of like that limiting factor of the motion controls where it's like you know you have to like move things and figure out how that movement works. And like I said earlier, like that was a longer kind of like tutorial to like get a handle of the controls. But honestly, there's some pretty cool things that you can do. Like you can like do trick shots where you're doing like 360s and stuff. Like I did a
That stuff does look
360
fun.
going off the ramp, and as soon as it like pointed that out to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, is this Tony Hawk? Am I am I having fun right now? um yeah, so my team also won because like I don't
Because
know,
you're a
I
goddamn
passed the
champion,
ball.
I get it.
I passed the ball. That's all you really need to do,
Chewy's like,
like pass to
I,
somebody
unlike
who's
these
open.
other nerds, had watched a sport before, so I understood how to press a court.
It's a team game. um, but yeah, overall pretty fun. I'm still, I'm questionable with it
Yeah.
just because like there might be alternatives that are just like more interesting for this type of gameplay. But I think like if everybody's doing kind of like the wheelchair simulation style of it, like it's pretty interesting. It has a cool feel to it. Also definitely has like some haptic feedback too as you're doing all of that stuff too. That was one thing that
Like,
I definitely noticed.
so you talked about like the wrist pain stuff of the ergonomics. Like, how'd that though? Right? Like, is it a thing that you could see yourself playing for more than a round or two because you're
Yeah,
like doing the swipes and stuff? Or
with this one I didn't feel it quite as much. I think I felt it more with Metroid Prime 4 than
okay,
anything.
cool.
Because I think with that one, like I was switching back and forth quite a bit because I think like in combat, I like it felt like very natural to me to just like switch to mouse mode for all the aiming and
Okay,
stuff.
that's cool. I like
Um,
that. I like to hear that it felt natural to switch.
yeah, it felt natural. It's like instantaneous too. Like you just put the mouse down and then you're in mouse mode. That's it.
Okay.
That said, like exploration and stuff, I was more like, oh, I'd rather just do like, the two Joy-Con. But also, I will say, I've been a lot of people have been like, oh, this is probably going to be like a Splatoon update thing or a Splatoon 4 thing, you know, like obviously mouse controls in a shooter, it works, it makes a lot of sense. I'm still questioning it, honestly, because I think the gyro has worked really well for me,
Yeah.
and my playstyle, and with like just thinking of all the different controls that you have on your right hand or your left hand at any given point in Splatoon, I'm still like, I think a pro controller will still probably be the optimal choice for me, at least
I
in that
wonder if
game.
I wonder if maybe there's not a universe where it's just like a viable alternative, and there are people who
Yeah.
like choose one or the other,
Mhm.
whether or not it's like the definitive way to play.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm open to waiting and seeing how people feel with it after we get more players on, you know. But yeah, I think for me, I notice more of the like wrist pain would happen with like a shooter. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and I think with Drag and Drive, there were just so many more motions to it, to the game. So it's kind of like it felt like it had a more natural flow to the gameplay than Metroid Prime 4 did in mouse mode.
Okay.
That
That makes
felt just
sense.
like a little bit more unnatural. But like with Drag and Drive, it's like, oh, you would stop sometimes and wave your arm around, you know. So there's like a little bit of loosening the tension.
That
It-
makes sense.
you know,
Yeah, less like micro movements.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that makes sense. So, talk to me about. You said you played Super Mario Party
yeah.
or Mario. What is it?
But Mario
Jamboree.
Party Jamboree
That's it.
TV edition. The guy gave us the whole title
Plus
jokingly, and it's
camera
I know
mode
long title.
with
Yeah,
Bowser's
plus
3D.
Jamboree TV. Yeah.
Right. Got it. Okay. So that one. Uh, Talk to me about how that was demoed because obviously there's like all the camera stuff. Did you
Mhm.
guys use the camera? Like, were you
Yeah.
okay? Cool. So I'm very interested in how that works
Yeah.
because I feel like the treehouse demo that they showed, I was very very impressed by the way that the camera was able to like recognize an individual, bring them in, and then like use that keyed out version of you as like an actual asset in the world that had like lighting and angles and everything.
Mhm.
So like you're on a show floor. I'm imagining it's not particularly high lighting. Like how did that work? Did you notice any like keying problems? Was there any issues with like bleed or anything like that or
Yeah. Honestly, I think it worked pretty well. Like I was
cool?
just as impressed with it in person as I was kind of like during the direct, where they do have kind of more of a controlled environment to show it to you. You
Right.
know.
That was
But
the thing that Sierra was expressing of like, how is that going to work if I'm like sitting in a dark room or like whatever.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't imagine it'll work incredibly well in like a really dark room, but like the room was fairly dark. Like I sent you pictures from it. Like
Yeah,
it's a lot of like neon
it
lights.
looks like an
It's
event
pretty.
lighting, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
it's not a dark room, but it's certainly not a high light situation. It's not a daylight level of light. It's a
Hmm.
computer screen. It's low vibes lights.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely that. And it honestly didn't really have an issue picking us up. Like it recognized, oh, a
That's great.
person's there. And then, it kind of like keys you into the game itself, and you're like coming out of a warp pipe and you're like, oh, this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
cool. It's cute. It just like puts you into the game, and
I'm
that's nice.
I'm
The
glad to
game
hear
does
that. I'm not
that.
like super surprised that it works
Hmm.
well, just because I know like Nvidia's like that's tech that they have that's very good. Like a lot of like streamers and people like use Nvidia's keying tech and stuff like that, and it's all pretty sharp.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that works well, and it definitely like puts you. It shows you where to stand, so you're in the right frame and everything, so everybody can play. And yeah, I mean, honestly, the games for that mode not too fun or impressive, but like the tech works.
Mm.
That was what I got out of it.
Very like it feels very like iToy.
Yeah.
It's like very like okay, like
Hmm. Yeah,
basic.
what's the WarioWare on the DSi? Um, I
God,
forget,
you'd
but
remember better than I would.
yeah, yeah, it was like that, just like some real simple games. The funniest one was basically like you had a plate on your head and you were just trying to balance as many Goombas as possible on
Cute.
there without falling, and you had
Did
to move
you
around, you know.
did you feel like it was something that was like worth like if you were at home playing Mario Party Jamboree, would you play those games on purpose, or is it kind of like like to demo the tech maybe, but
Not the camera ones. I
yeah,
don't think those were quite as interesting, but the mouse ones I think were more interesting because that really like let me play around with kind of the mouse plus gyro
okay.
with that.
So those
They
games
had,
were fun.
yeah, I thought those were cool and just kind of had like a better feel to it. Like there was a stacking game in that too, where you'd like take basically like Tetramino shaped blocks and try to stack them as high as possible. And with that, I grabbed one and I was moving it and I was like, how do I like get it to turn or anything? Like, is there a button I should press? And then I moved my hand, twisted my hand, and I was like,
Oh,
oh,
that's cool.
instantly it connected. And I was like, this is a cool way to do it. Um,
I like that.
so yeah, they had some like pretty nice use cases for that, and I liked it. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Okay, I guess I should just tell you about like the welcome tour thing. My thoughts after playing it: 100% should be a pack-in game.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they could like should call it a game either.
Well, they were very
It
careful
does,
to call it an experience on the
yeah, yeah.
Treehouse.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a reason why. It's definitely like it has mini games and stuff. I think it's like I find it unfortunate because I think it's like a really cool way to like present your console and give people like an insider look into it that like you honestly normally wouldn't get, and especially in like a place like Japan where it is actually illegal to do like hardware mods. The guy who, for example, used to do like 3DS mods so you could like get a capture card installed, they shut him down because like at some point a law was passed, you can't do hardware mods. So it's really a cool thing for them to do to give people an opportunity to like look at on the inside of this device that like in the country where you're from, you kind of legally can't, and, which is unfortunate, you know. And so I like it as a concept, but like I don't know, it just should have been packed in. It shouldn't.
It feels particularly like eye rolly when you consider that the PlayStation 5 had Astrobot's Playroom packed in, which is
Yeah,
like what a delightful
such a
way to
cool thing to like introduce people to your console and such
yeah.
a fun way to do it. And this could have been that, but unfortunately, that's not the case.
Yeah,
So
I think this thing is just it's like I embarrassing. I think a little bit that they're asking like $10 for that shit. You know, it's
yeah,
like come on, guys.
yeah. I'm gonna be in motion for a sec. The dog is asking to be let out into the
Okay.
yard, so you'll get a little look of this.
So while you're getting settled here again, so you got to play Cyberpunk, right? And that
Yes.
that was kind of my big question was like I'm interested in getting a handle on like what performance for third party games is looking like because
Yeah.
it feels so like up in the air right now, right? Because we have like the word on the like okay, like Metroid Prime is capable of playing 4K 120 FPS, great. But then like a game like Cyberpunk looks like maybe it's running at like 30 FPS and it
Hmm.
raises a question about like optimization and like are the Cyberpunks and the Street Fighters and like the games that we're seeing here now like the equivalents of like Skyrim and some of those other early Switch games where it's like, yeah, there's third party support for that first year or so, and then it's going to pretty aggressively fall off? Or do we feel like, maybe the hardware that the Switch 2 is able to offer will be able to, even if it is a lower resolution version,
Yeah.
keep up with those other consoles, with the other competitors, right?
Yeah. So I went and tried Cyberpunk, and honestly, I could tell like visually it wasn't as up to date to like, a PC or a PS5, and that was fine. Like their hair still looked pretty funny, but I
Mm-hmm.
was immediately impressed by just like how smoothly it did run.
Okay.
Like I I didn't feel like it was chugging at all, which is like I played a lot of Switch, and I know that thing can really chug on a lot of games, both
Yeah.
Nintendo made games and third party games. But I think overall, like the console is there. Like I think it's gonna get a lot of support with some more up to date games, because like yeah, it just felt like a smooth experience. At no point did I feel like things were uh, things were just like performing subpar. And, like the whole time I was just in it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm playing this game," and
Nice.
it seems to work really
And
well.
I think that's kind of the bar they need to hit. Like, it doesn't need to be equivalent to the other guys, right? It just needs to be able to,
Mhm.
like, offer a standard solid experience. And
Yeah.
it's very interesting because I think there's like a lot of kind of questions about like how is it going to compare to the Steam Deck, and are games that are not playable there going to be playable here, and like
Mhm.
how much are they going to have in common in terms of performance, and
Yeah, I think immediately
it's
what stood
interesting.
out to me too is just like I said, we both have the Steam Deck, and I definitely still see like, some games definitely chug on that thing. But I think what the advantage is with like the Switch in particular, and it being like its own console, is that like developers can optimize to just one machine. They don't have to optimize to like a million different PCs out there, a million different builds, right? So because they can like dedicate to that single machine, I think we're gonna see like I don't know, like I've definitely started to feel at points in Steam Deck where I'm like, man, I just wish this experience were like a little bit smoother. Like I didn't have to like mess
Yeah.
with settings all the time for things. And I think the Switch 2 is getting to that point where it's like competing on that level. Like I was like, dang man, this is running Cyberpunk really well. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see like because it could also be a thing where like if the Switch 2 is as successful as like analysts think it's going to be, right? Like where it's like there is a big incentive to get an optimized version of your game out for it, just because there's a market to have the
Mhm.
best handheld version available or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's still such a big question mark for me. Is just like you know Elden Ring ran on the Steam Deck very stably day and date,
Hmm.
right? Basically, and it's
Yeah.
like it seems like it's running at a very similar level here. So it's I think I've seen a lot of like prognosticating of like it's going to be so much more powerful than the Steam Deck, and then a lot of people pointing to this limitation or that limitation where it's like, oh, it won't be able to in all these ways. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very very like I'm
Hmm.
interested to hear you say that it at no point felt unstable. I think even if you're talking
Hmm.
about like, okay, we have, maybe it's equivalent to what it was like running on like a PS4 Pro or something like that, right? Like that's still a lot better than the Switch.
Yeah. It was definitely a lot better, and that's the one thing that like I really came out of that experience with, where I'm just like, the Switch 2 it has games, it will have games. Yeah, because and once again, yeah, I think the advantage that Nintendo has with this machine is that it's like a single device to optimize to. So we might see games run better than they do on Steam Deck, and I think for us, it's mostly that just like it's one thing that a dev can really focus on, And I
So,
think they'll want to because it's also like a pretty huge audience. Steam Deck, I think, has a big audience, but it's definitely like a little bit more niche in the sense of like it's people who are like willing to like fool around with some
yeah, I mean
PC hassles
it's like the situation of like not to take anything away from the Steam Deck, but it's like
because I love it still.
the Switch 2 will sell more copies in on its first day on the market than the Steam Deck has in
Yeah.
its last several years, right? Like that's
Hmm.
just it's inherently it's a mass market device in a way that the Steam Deck at least
Yeah.
right now isn't, right? That handheld
Yeah.
PC form factor is I think becoming more and more popular, but
Hmm. But
it's
I do think this hardware brings Nintendo to a more up to date point in the field. Like I think they're going to be able to get a lot more games that just like we're going to skip the Switch
Right.
just because of power, you know?
Yeah, which is that's what you want to hear.
Yeah. Um, let's see. What else? I guess that's basically everything I played. Hades 2.
Well, I was gonna say talk about the Metroid performance a little bit. You talked about the mouse situation. How did
Mhm.
it? Did that 120 FPS live up to the hype? Did it look buttery smooth? Did you get to play it
Honestly,
in
yes.
handheld?
Yeah, so they had everything set up to the 4K 60 FPS, and once again, just very impressed. Like at no point did it seem like the console was like struggling to run this game. It all looked perfect. The demo itself takes you from just like the beginning portion,
Okay.
probably the part before Samus loses her powers, you know, or I think the person told me it's like right before you're getting your like psychic powers. It
Okay.
has you fight like a mini boss and everything. Um, and then they're like, oh yeah, not to get into too many spoilers, but you're gonna get these psychic powers a little later. And I was like, oh, is that what was happening here? And they're like, can't tell you. So yeah, I was already getting intrigued by like, oh, what am I doing here? Because it just kind of drops you in. You're like, okay, let's explore a little bit, you know. Um, but yeah, that experience was super smooth. The game runs well. It looks great. I think we're gonna see a lot of like really well optimized games from Nintendo that run to that caliber. So just it totally just came out of this being like, yeah, this is a really huge hardware upgrade to the Switch.
That's beautiful, man. Awesome.
Hmm.
Any final thoughts? I mean, I think we've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to ask about. I don't know if there's any other things that you think are worth shouting out.
Yeah, so I guess the last thing, I played Hades 2. I still haven't played that because I've been finally making my way through Hades. Amazing, love it.
Great game.
Yeah, yeah. Just like everybody was saying, with like, I guess because it's been kind of a pre-release, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this game feels like it's already like so well put together.
Nice.
Yeah, all the new stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I barely want to play Hades now because this one seems cooler.
Hell yeah. Cool.
But I still do want to play Hades. Still making my way through.
That'll be a
Oh
nice one to have early on when people are like hungry for stuff to play on it.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I guess at that point I had my little passport filled out, had my like 6 slots and everything.
Is
This
this
little
when they
market
gave
thing
you
was
the
like,
backpack?
yeah, yeah. So basically, they're like, "Oh yeah, get this filled out," and then show it at the end to get your thing. But then also they were like, they don't care. They'll give you a backpack when you leave.
Like, no,
So
no,
yeah,
no. You got to play all your video games before you get your free backpack.
yeah. I think I was there definitely longer than my allotted time. But I think they just gave up because it was like literally the second to last time slot
I
that I was
think
in.
they probably made an exception for you because of how much you crushed at Mario Kart. They're like, we
Uh,
can't. I don't have the heart to kick this man out. He's too much of a competitor.
I'm one of the world's best here. Like you can't you can't kick me out.
They got to watch you work.
So yeah, I went outside and they give us this backpack here.
It's so
Um,
dope.
it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Does it have
The,
like a
the
Switch
back,
slot in it? Like, is it?
honestly, yeah, like when you open it up on the inside, it has kind of like a slot. It seems more like laptop sized,
Mhm.
a laptop sized slot. It has some zippers everywhere. There's some zippers on the
Man,
inside,
I want
but
this thing so bad. I wish I had gone.
cup holder
So tight.
on both sides.
I
Some
love a
bottle
swag
holders.
bag.
Which is funny because like I got to my car and I realized like the water bottle I had brought, like I'd left it somewhere at some booth at
Oh
some point.
no.
And I was like, I went back and I was like, hey, so I just came out. I left my water bottle in there. Is there like a lost and found or anything? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, just like check with security over there. And so I walked over, and they're like, no, we haven't gotten anything, but I'll like escort you in and we could look for it. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, that's fine. So I kind of like walked around where I thought I'd left it, didn't find it, but I did run. What everybody was like super nice to try to help me. I was like, this is just a water bottle. I feel like you guys are making a bigger. I just came to quickly look. but yeah, Teresa from Nintendo Treehouse had popped up, and I specifically remembered her because, like, as Jackie was like, I had the Treehouse on, and she was like, "Does that girl have like a giant mole?" And I was like, "No, but it's their microphone." But
The
I can
little,
see why
yeah,
you think it looks
the
like
little
a
like dot
yeah.
mics that they had. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did not mention that to her, but I was like, "Hey, I saw you
I
on the
think that was
Treehouse."
wise that you didn't bring that up. I really for a second thought you were going to be like, yeah, my wife. I was like, oh, don't say that to her.
No, no,
Don't
no.
tell
She
this
was
poor
being so
woman that.
helpful. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but she just like spoke into her walkie-talkie and she was like, "Hey, did anybody see this water bottle?" And I was like, "It's totally fine if nobody finds it. I don't really care about this bottle."
Shout out to Nintendo staff for trying to help you out.
Yeah, they're so helpful. But yeah, I was like, "Oh, hey, I recognize you from the tree houses," and she was like, "Oh, hi, I'm Teresa," and I was like, "Hi, I'm Chewy," and that was about it. But
You
I was
didn't
like,
get
"Oh,
her on the
cool, Nintendo
show?
Treehouse people are here." I mean, maybe I
I'm
don't know.
sure
I've
they're
listened
not
to enough.
allowed. I'm sure they're not
Yeah,
allowed to
I've
do that.
listened to enough Kit and Krista to know they're not allowed to say anything on anywhere.
She probably got in trouble for telling you her name.
I know, for reals.
Just kidding. We're just kidding. Don't nobody get upset, Nintendo of America.
They're not listening. Okay. Last thing, there was like a hype man before you like walk in. They're just giving you little asking trivia questions and that sort of thing, asking you your favorite Nintendo characters just to get you like excited to go in, right? And the funniest moment for sure was just like, what is everybody most excited about with the Switch 2? And somebody was like, not the price.
Oh, come
And they were
on.
just like, and he was just like, I couldn't say anything about that.
He's like, all right, guys, please.
I was like, come on, you guys, this
It's like,
he's just trying to hype you up.
it's like, don't get me
make him say
fired.
it harder. But yeah, he was like, what was the fun? The part I thought was most fun. He was just like, what was Donkey Kong's original name? And I was like, huh, it wasn't Donkey Kong? Because I thought like Jumpman. We know Mario was Jumpman,
Yeah.
And then he was like, it'll be obvious about him after you figure it out. And I was like, Monkey Kong? And he was like, yeah, that's it. And I was like, oh, cool. I didn't know that. Just guessed.
I've never heard that before.
I've
I don't
never
know
heard
that
this
that's
before.
true.
And I don't know if it's true, but he's a guy at Nintendo.
I read a
said
whole
it to
thing
me
about how they got sued by Universal, and then they found out that
King
Universal
Kong,
didn't actually own the name King Kong because they had
Yeah,
let it lapse.
my first guess was like King Kong.
Yeah.
And then I was like Monkey Kong, and he was like, yeah, it was Monkey Kong. And I was
I
like,
don't think
is
this
this real?
I don't think
know
that's
if this is
true. I think that's wrong.
So who knows?
We have to fact check that one.
But yeah, I guess to everybody going in Dallas, have fun, try all the things. It's a good time.
I'm really glad that you got to go. I'm glad one of us made it out there.
I know, the only person that I know, because I asked literally everywhere on every Discord I was on. I was like, did anybody get in? And they're like, honestly, I don't think anybody got in. It's a fake event.
It makes sense that it was you. You're a lucky boy.
Yeah, somehow.
You got the hot hand.
Really lucky. Yeah, I got lucky with the playtest game, which we've seen nothing about yet, mind you.
Yeah, you're the only person I know that got into that. Everyone.
Yeah, literally, I was there on the page when it was going live, and I was like, I'm refreshing this immediately. Didn't read any disclaimers or any of the things that I agreed to when I signed up for it, because if I would have, I probably wouldn't have gotten in. It was too quick.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm really glad you got to go. Hearing about your experience definitely has me even more excited. So hopefully we're both able to get our pre-orders in a couple of weeks here and lock them down.
And I'll post all the pictures that I took in the Discord too, just so if anybody didn't want to like hop into the YouTube and watch it, they'll all be there.
Yeah, we'll throw them in the Nintendo Noise channel. So if you want to go over to the podcast channel on the Discord, you can check them out over there.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, Chewy, thanks for reporting back. Thank you for doing a lo-fi episode at your in-laws' houses with less than 24 hours after the event. You're a real trooper.
Yeah, always, anytime.
All right, folks. So remember, if you want to show your support, you want to get involved with the community, you want to do all the things that you can do under the Flip Screen Games sun, you can head over to flipscreen.games. That's the website where you will find links to all the places we are, all over the web, all the ways that you can get involved or show your support. However you choose to do so, we thank you for tuning into this episode of Nintendo Noise. And of course, I want to give a very special thank you to our Patreon producers for the month of April. They are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Asobi, Project Julian, Steve Stompy, Susan Still Likes Cats and Also Boobies, That One Kid Nick, Ty the Dude, Voodoo Vic, and Wakahula. Thank you all so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. Y'all the realest of the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. Remember, if you want to let us know what you thought about this week's show, you can let us know in the comments down below or visit us at flipscreen.games to drop us a line. If you're watching over on YouTube, please remember to give this episode a like, share it with a friend, and click the notification bell so you never miss an episode. If you're an audio listener, please take a second to leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps the show get circulated. For the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Chewy. We'll see you next week.